What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Down Once More. Matt here, got a little bit something different for you this week. Kind of hinted at it last week with our Les Mis review about there being lost recording that Brad and I did together. And it was back in August of 2021, so almost 6 months before we launched the podcast. So I just had a whole bunch of personal stuff and things go on this week that it was a crazy week and I was struggling with what to come up with for the podcast this week. So I decided to unearth that episode and edit it and put that episode out here. So that's what you're about to get into. Bear with us. This was back before we even officially started it. We didn't even have an official name for the podcast at the time. There's some discussion about that at the beginning here. You'll see I had my old microphone. We were doing Zoom instead of Riverside recordings. Brad has since inherited my old mic, so that's what he's been using on the recent ones. It was interesting going back and looking at this. We talk about Les Mis some, so there's some things that are echoed from our episode that you saw last week. And so just, it's interesting to see the changes that happened in my top 5 musical songs, even from when we recorded this to when Rayleigh and I put our list and episode out. I feel like I've also gotten better as a host since then, so bear with us. Buckle up and enjoy this kind of blast from the past episode. So here we go. All right. I want to welcome to the pod my brother, Brad Hansen. Be a first official guest. We're just going to talk musicals and top 5, currently top 5 favorite songs from musicals in any forms. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's just striking me right now. I don't know the name of the pod. Is that
currently workshopping it a little bit. The tentative one is the Down Once More podcast.
Very nice?
No,
well,
that's tentative title.
Happy to go down once more.
That's the dream. That's why we're both happily married.
You know that's right.
So that's how we're gonna start this off. So Brad, I know some of your stuff, but just for our one listener, that's probably our mother.
Let's hope it's not our mother. Dear Lord.
Yeah,
I was promised I could say what I want.
Advertise this yet. But what is kind of your first when you first started enjoying musical movies?
I mean,
that you remember?
I feel like, yeah, like most people our age, I feel like Disney movies really kind of prepped me.
Yeah.
For musical numbers just randomly popping into movies is just a normal thing. Growing up, we were both kind of beat over the head with The Sound of Music and Mary Poppins. And I did not enjoy those growing up. So outside of Disney, the first one that really grabbed me was Phantom of the Opera. And I remember you and I in the basement with the closed captioning on, fighting over who got to be the Phantom and who had to be Christine in our little back and forth sing along. So that's been it for me. The hard part is I have this pretty strict rule that I try to follow, that I like to experience songs either while watching the play, if I can, or a movie version. So there's a whole world of musicals out there that I just don't know because I'm choosing to wait till I can experience it live. And because I haven't had money for the past 27 years of my life, pretty limited to the greatest hits. So I have pretty unapologetically low to mid-brow taste in musicals, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think it is admirable and impressive, because I know I have tried to get you to listen to things before, and I know you had said some exceptions, like Hamilton was the one, because you first listened to Hamilton and introduced me to it, and then I got lucky and won lottery tickets like a week after I was introduced to it and fell in love with it. and won
Yeah,
the lottery tickets to see it. But
I'm up here in Chicago, and I tried to win Hamilton lottery tickets for, I mean, straight up 2 years. Um, Matt wasn't paying attention to Hamilton at all.
mhm.
I turned him on to it. The tour rolls through Omaha. He wins like the first
It was
time, right? That
opening
you
night.
played it. It was
It was opening
ridiculous.
night too.
Ridiculous. And I still didn't make it to Hamilton while I was in Chicago. It closed and left before I won the lottery. And see previous comment about my financial situation. So
Yeah. Well, it's coming back to Omaha, and I will be entering the lottery again. So if I win, just be on standby to hop in a car. Actually, I don't think that'll work because you win the tickets the day of the performance, and that does not give you enough time to get here,
I
unfortunately.
mean, what kind of time frame we talking? I'm game.
I want to say it is October this year, but I mean, it might actually be spring. No, I think Wicked is spring. I think Hamilton is October or November, is when it's rolling through. Yeah, we're getting Wicked and Dear Evan Hansen are rolling through during this season tour. So I'm just tempted to get they do the season tickets, so then you get it for all the shows. But Wicked was an add-on one, and there was one other, I think it was Anastasia or something that was an add-on. And so, like, well, if I'm
I'm
gonna have
gonna
to buy those tickets separately anyways.
I'm gonna no
Go down.
balls you right now. How can you possibly have this podcast and not be a season ticket holder?
I know. That's
It's
when
hypocrisy.
I know it really is. It really is. But I also, well, I have somewhat more money than you because I don't have children. Um, I'm also still not rolling in the dough. So that's where
Uber.
that uh
Start
yeah,
start driving for Uber.
I know. And also the other thing is the weekend shows are, even though I don't have kids, for some reason it seems like I'm always doing something and constantly busy. And that commitment and weeknight shows are ideal, but where it's a little over an hour away, so doing that on a work night is a pain because I'm basically an old man who goes to bed at like 9:30 every night. So that can make it rough. Um,
He says at 10 o'clock at night,
that is fair.
podcasting with his brother.
It's a Friday though. That's different. It's not a work night.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, but so think about Disney movies. What was the first Disney musical that really stands out to you that you enjoyed?
Well, I think my earliest discernible Disney memory is our family walking out of Hercules because of the false gods.
I thought
But
it was Scantily Clad Women.
it was probably both. Um, I thought Hunchback we never saw because of the sensuality portrayed. But I remember Lion King hitting hard for me.
Yeah.
We had this little like piano songbook. And I would just like dink around the melodies.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Lion King hit hard for me. That's the first one that I really remember. But I've kind of come full circle because having a 5-year-old that is obsessed with all things Disney, I will unashamedly and often by myself blare Frozen music just with complete joy. So
are you a more let it go or show yourself guy?
show yourself. It's not even close.
I feel like I go through stages, but I tend to agree that show yourself is more my
It's not
go-to.
even close. Let It Go is fine and all, but also can we just like briefly mention how unfair of a career Adina Menzel has had? Like she has had some iconic, incredible just power ballads
Yeah.
in her career.
Yeah.
Which good for her.
Yeah. Yeah. originating Maureen on Rent on Broadway in that role
which
too.
isn't an easy part.
And then no, and then I believe she was the main. At least she's the most well-known Elphaba from Wicked. I believe
Yeah, I
she
think
was
she
the
was the first.
original. Her and Kristen Chenoweth, which I'm watching Kristen Chenoweth in the new Apple TV Plus show Schmigadoon. It's pretty interesting.
Bless you.
It's Keegan Michael Key and one of the ladies that's from SNL. It's from the Lorne Michaels SNL guy created it. They wander into this town that's trapped in like a 1940s musical with like painted backdrop for the countryside. Everyone's old school and old garb and everything. It's very old school musical numbers in it, and he hates musicals. It's pretty entertaining. I think it's only a 6 episode arc that they're just finishing up, but it's pretty good when it comes out. Pay the $5 for a month or a free trial. Check it out. Um,
Wonderful.
okay, so we'll get into. I asked you to kind of think of just 5 favorite musical songs currently. I didn't want to do it of all time. I feel like that makes it harder to go and really think about all the implications, all the ones that have been so powerful and had such more meaningful run. I think it's more fun to just do like right now. If you're throwing on 5 musical songs, which ones are they going to be? I figure we'll just kind of take turns, and I'm going to be very loose from it. I don't care if it's from a musical TV show, animated musical, just a musical movie, Broadway musical that there's no movie of. Whatever you want to do, let her go. And I'll let you kick it off since you're the guest.
All right.
And
So
it doesn't need to
what's
be in
that?
any order either, just 5 in general, not like your top 5.
Yeah, in no particular order. I'm gonna start with a classic, Music of the Night, Phantom of the Opera.
Mm,
So this has just always been a jam, and I mean the whole sequence from when, like, from dressing room to lair,
yeah.
and that just sticks out to me as a great musical number. But um, for my wife's birthday one day, we went to Broadway in Chicago to see the Phantom, and the stage. I think you saw
In the
the
round.
same stage with the round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
you went from the dressing room, like the dressing room, and then the whole stage turns and they appear on the
Yeah.
top and they come down. That to me uh, was one of the most captivating like moments of stage music coming together in a really gripping way.
Yeah.
So Music of the Night has to be for me um, on that list.
Very nice. I'm gonna jump around and back to a question I should have asked before. How many plays and which on ones have you seen on stage and live?
Not nearly enough.
Fair.
I'm doing the millennial thing where I either watch YouTube uh, stage videos,
Yeah.
um, or I mean Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
It's how I've seen Hamilton, HBO Max in the Heights.
Yeah.
It's how I saw Newsies. So a lot of YouTube, not much actual theater.
Okay.
So thank you for exposing me.
Well, in theater that you saw Phantom, and then did you see Les Mis, or you're talking about seeing
Yes.
Les Mis? Okay.
So Les Mis, I have made exactly one trip to New York, and I got to see exactly one play on Broadway. And as cliche as it is, I chose to see Les Mis because one of my favorite vocalists in the world, Alfie Boe, was Jean Valjean. Um, and it was fantastic. Uh, the only downside is I think Javert's one of the best characters in any musical.
Mm-hmm.
And the night I went, it was the understudy. And he clipped off every single line. He was just noticeably worse than he should have been.
Mm,
So that was the only regret. But yeah, Les Mis on Broadway, Alfie Boe. If you get a chance to look up Alfie Boe singing "Bring Him Home," it's magnificent, almost as good as Cole Wilkinson.
Now, is Les Mis your favorite Broadway musical?
I'm
Or just because you've seen it's up there?
by
It's one of your
experience, yeah.
top three.
Just because, yeah, it's got to be there because that's the best Broadway experience I've had.
Yeah, that's fair. I get it. All right. You've seen almost just as many as me. I've only seen in theater. I mean, we both saw a Nutcracker an insane amount of times. I don't necessarily consider a musical. It's a ballet.
It's a ballet.
But I've seen Rent and Hamilton. I'm trying to think. I think and Phantom of the Opera. Those are the only three that I've seen. There's musicals that I have discovered after I've seen them, like Book of Mormon, for example. I discovered that later, and it had been here in town in Lincoln the previous year. I would have had the opportunity to see it, but it hasn't been around anywhere since. One of the smaller theaters up in Omaha was doing the last 5 years, but that was still, they were doing that in a small like theater hall performance in April. Still with some of the COVID stuff, just didn't necessarily want to go. That's one I'd like to see, but that's more on like a smaller stage one.
Book of Mormon is one of my greatest regrets. It was in Chicago my first 3 years here, but as a good Bible college student, I thought it was a little too sacrilegious, and I could have got like $5, $10 student rush tickets basically any time, and I didn't because of my own self-righteousness, and regret to this day. We also should add we have a cousin that was in a theater program through college, and we went to a number of his plays.
That's true. I don't remember him. I'm blanking on if he did any musical type ones that we went.
I feel like there was a couple, but
not like the big heavy hitters. Yeah.
No, it was almost all student written and everything.
Now, if you want to kick yourself more about the Book of Mormon in Chicago, I'm like 75% sure that time frame overlaps with when Ben Platt was playing the Josh Gad character.
Benji.
Yep. There in Chicago, because that's where that was one of his first things. I heard him talking on Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard.
I'm looking forward to your podcast where you talk about the Dear Evan Hansen movie when that comes out, and just how rough and creepy he looks.
It looks so like
scary.
I'm so torn on it because I'm excited that it's going to be him singing it and that he's getting the opportunity where he originated the role. And I think it's one that means a lot to him from everything I've heard and seen. But yeah, like in the trailer, it looks rough. Like his, just like, especially when the people that are playing opposite him, I feel look at least somewhat more like high schoolers. Yeah,
16, 17.
Yeah. I mean, they're significantly older too, but yeah, he looks significantly older. So I don't know. It's
not one. Like the plot does him any favors on that front either. So
no,
but that's a song for another time. What's your next? What's your first?
Yeah. Well, just one more note on that. Dear Evan Hansen, I actually had tickets to see, and it was going to be like March 24th, which was the week after they shut everything down, like the week or two after everything got shut down for COVID. And so I still have not seen that. I'm hoping to try to go when they come back, and I think it's like February or March. So my first one that I'm going to go with is from Rent, but I kind of want to see if you can guess which one it is, because I don't think you'll be able to.
You know what? I'm based on everything I know about you and your personality, I'm going with Angel's song when they first meet her. about dancing on the
No,
corner and killing the dog.
I'm also,
It's got
I
a
don't know if
Matt
I should be
vibe for me.
concerned or confused why you feel like that song is my vibe. It's an
I
entertaining
think you know
song.
why.
Yep, you're right. I like to dress and drag on the weekends and dance on tables, kill dogs.
Hey,
What I do.
first guest episode got that out of you. It's
That's
got to
right.
be liberating.
And I felt okay saying that on the first one because this is when we'll have like no viewers, so I don't really need to worry about that going too viral. So,
But new listeners will start back at the first, see
ooh,
it's trash. See,
that's
like,
true.
man, he's
It's
grown a lot.
problematic.
But this will be out there.
Yep, it will be. Okay, it is not. It is the "I'll Cover You" reprise that Colin sings at Angel's funeral. That is intermixed with the "Seasons of Love," just the singing of that, and both in the movies from. I need to look it up because I'm blanking on what the actor's name is. But he was the one who originated Collins on Broadway as well, and he just does such an amazing job, just singing that. And it's one of those, just listening to him sing it, your heart just Jesse L. Martin. That's what it is. I feel like my heart just breaks from while he's singing that, and everyone else chiming in with the "Seasons of Love" and going into that's just one of my favorites that I always like to sing horribly to in the shower or on my commutes.
And let's be honest, baritone may be the most common vocal range for men, but there's not a lot of like great baritone songs out there. So excellent choice.
Thank you. I also want to note that even though I'm the host of this podcast and his musicals, I am very more of a casual musical person. I am not music theory and things like that. Not necessarily my thing. This isn't going to be a lot of in-depth analysis. You are more. Was your major music at
It
movie
was for
or
a year until they
okay?
figured out that I didn't play my instrument or read music. And then that didn't last too much longer than that.
Fair, but it's always been a passion of yours too. And
yeah, and I learned a lot that year.
Yeah.
So that being said, a good friend of mine is a graduate of Northwestern University's theater program.
Okay.
So if she ever finds out that I am publicly talking about theater, I apologize. Forgive my sins. For I know not what I say. So I'm just going to keep rolling with the Rent theme. Okay. Number 2 for me, and this is always up there for me, listening to, is La Vie Boheme. And something about that song is just out of control and fun. I like the way that the different relationships are portrayed and kind of brought up, and the characters of the individuals are kind of shown throughout that song, and it's just a party. So that's a frequent car jam for me.
Yeah, that's a great one. It's always one of my go-tos. I will say, speaking of Rent, so I introduced someone to Rent last night that was going into it mostly blind, if they're aware of it and may have heard one or two things. And we watched, they're a musical fan. We watched the Broadway recorded version that they put out there, that I think is just fantastic. And to me, I prefer that version because I like the full experience, the full songs. I like seeing the staging. I like some of the Christmas bells, some of those songs. I like the full version of Goodbye Love. Then at the end, could just tell wasn't really feeling it. She said she just felt like it was a lot and there was a lot going on, which I think is kind of a fair thing. And looking back in hindsight, I almost feel like if you're bringing someone into Rent blind, which I introduced you to it when we went the Broadway one first, But I almost feel like if it's someone who that may not be as much their scene, that may not have as much appreciation for it right away, you might be better off watching the movie first, because it does streamline the story and make it a little easier to follow at first, and then go into the Broadway one. That's what I did personally. And I don't know how much that affected my enjoyment and my appreciation for it. Now I exclusively listen to the Broadway soundtrack, um, and watch the Broadway version. But I was thinking there's some of those scenes like in La Vie Boheme or some of the other ones where you got multiple angles, multiple relationships going on and talking about it at the same time, that it can be harder to follow some of that if you're just going into it completely blind. I don't know. I was just a thought I had.
Yeah, I just think there's also a sense in which the story of Rent just might not resonate
Yeah.
uh, with and not only the particulars of the story, but just the way the story is told. There's not that singular male lead, female
Yeah.
lead carrying the whole thing that a lot of people are accustomed to um, in it. So not having a singular central relationship
Mm-hmm.
around which everything else is built um, might be part of the unsettling nature of Rent for
Yeah.
the uninitiated.
I also feel like if you're someone who is more of a traditional musical fan, then Maureen's performance and Contact are going to lose you and are going to probably affect your viewing of it a little bit. Because I feel like they're not traditional musical numbers at all. And they can be a lot for people. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
100%.
So going into my second one, um, I'm going with Wait for It from Hamilton. Leslie Odom Jr. performing it is just fantastic. That is one of my go-to ones in car karaoke or shower. You always gotta have the shower speaker for the musical showers, makes it more enjoyable. But yeah, Wait for It's always one of my go-to. Um, just the power behind it and seeing Burr's viewpoint on things. And that's one of the things I think I appreciate about Hamilton most, that even though um, Hamilton's the main character and kind of the main focus, everything is kind of viewed in a certain extent, or Burr's just as important, and you're seeing things from his perspective. It was I was torn between Wait for It and I'm linking on if it's actually The World Was Wide Enough. Um that one and
Like the
the
very,
actual
like
dual
that's
one.
like the last
Those
number.
yeah, those last numbers there with it, and just explaining everything and seeing how much it meant to him and how Burr's feelings and emotions for it just really
Yo,
resonate with me. And it's fun to sing. It's just too
I don't,
damn short.
yeah, I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I just think Burr's the best character in Hamilton.
Oh, I
He's
agree.
just such a compelling character. Um, I also have a Hamilton song, but
Cool.
I am not going to uh, stick with the Aaron Burr theme. I got to go with "You'll Be Back." Uh, I just think that song is a blast and a half. I think Jonathan Groff is an
Mm-hmm.
incredible vocalist, incredible actor. He was obviously Kristoff in Frozen, and they didn't give him much besides the "Silly Little Reindeers Are Better Than People" song in
Yeah.
the first one. Cut it loose for him in the second with
Mm-hmm.
"Out of the Woods," but
Good
"You'll Be
one.
Back" is a brilliantly written song.
Mm-hmm.
It's marvelously performed, and Jonathan Groff deserves to be on this list in one
Somewhere.
form or another. So "You'll Be Back." Also, my 5-year-old loves that song. She loves the part in the recording where he like makes a pouty face. Um, he's yeah, I don't remember what he says, but he just like he makes this like big old sad face, and
Mhm.
she made us rewind that like 5 seconds, like until we refused to do it again. And then she asked us to imitate it. So
Nice.
You'll Be Back is my Hamilton entry.
I like it. I like it. It's a good one. I agree with Jonathan Groff. I'd seen him in a number of things before Hamilton. I saw him in
It's prolific.
Glee. He was in Glee, and he's in Mindhunter serial, a show where he's playing a serious role. He's I don't remember if it's FBI, but he profiles and interviews serial killers. So that's a unique, different role for him. Um, so my next one is She Used to Be Mine from Waitress, but as
I know where this is
performed,
going.
yep, as performed by Jeremy Jordan. And if you have not seen him perform it on YouTube, no need. This isn't taking anything away from Sarah Bareilles. Sarah Bareilles is fantastic as it, but I'm a big Jeremy Jordan fan, and just his performance of it is so powerful. If you have not watched it, you need to go check it out on YouTube. But that's my favorite.
Now,
that's the version I like to sing to, which is a pain because it's on YouTube. Because I have to try to play it on YouTube, sing along to it, and that's just a pain in the ass.
Which, like, let's just take a public stand here. It's ridiculous that YouTube hides their watch videos on a locked screen function behind the paid version.
And it's $15 a month.
Who's paying $15 a month for YouTube?
I looked into it because the other thing about YouTube that annoys me is that now on the iPhones where you can do the little picture in picture, so I can watch things and do other things on my phone, like Netflix, Hulu, all these other things, and YouTube, it's locked behind the paid one. That's $15 a month, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
One of these days, I realistically will probably sign up for it, and it will be one of the worst purchases I ever make because it is 100% not worth it.
Fight the power, man. Fight the power. This is how we resist late stage capitalism, by not signing up for YouTube's absurd $15 a month charge.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So here's, but a couple things that your listeners need to know first.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any person in the world that I think you might leave your wife for, it's Jeremy Jordan.
No, Hillary Duff is my one go-to.
I
should have pulled Lizzie McGuire movie song on my list.
You don't. Yeah. Lizzie McGuire was that Hillary Duff, Beat of My Heart. Lizzie McGuire movie. What's the?
There was the
almost kiss the stars.
Yeah, that's the one song I think of. Where so 2 picks left.
So yeah, right. So on that trip to New York where I saw Les Mis, it was in December or late November when they were like getting all the holiday decorations up, and there was a free Sarah Bareilles concert where this was before Waitress opened up on Broadway, and we've only listed Jeremy Jordan and Sarah Bareilles. Sarah Bareilles was not the original. She didn't play the role. She did the music.
I was saying she wrote it, right?
And the actress that did it on Broadway, and I can't remember her name right now, also performs the song brilliantly. So we shouldn't take anything away from her by only being Bareilles and Jordan.
Good point.
But seeing Sarah Bareilles perform She Used to Be Mine live was so gripping that no YouTube video of your man Jeremy Jordan can come close. Plus, it's not even the best Jeremy Jordan performance. Like, I would say Santa Fe from Newsies is a better performance than She Used to Be Mine.
Ooh,
She Used to Be Mine is a stronger song, but as far as Jeremy Jordan performance, I'm giving it to Santa Fe.
Ooh, I will respectfully disagree, sir. Santa Fe is fantastic, which I didn't have Santa Fe, but I did have The World Will Know from Newsies on my honorable mentions list. So it didn't make it into my top 5, but it is in my honorable mentions. Um,
So
I was gonna say, I
so
think
I
it's
think
you.
it's my turn,
Yep.
and I'm gonna keep with my New York trip. Then uh, we've talked about I love Les Mis,
Hmm.
and we've also talked about there's not a lot of great baritone songs out there. Like the tenors really take the day in musicals,
Right.
but Javert in Les Mis is an incredible character, and his just ballad stars is always way high on my list. Um, it's a beautiful song. Almost everybody that's ever sung it has done a wonderful job, um, and it just really captures his like righteous uh, zeal to take down Jean Valjean, even though it's misplaced. It's just this beautiful encapsulation of that character. Um, the runs are wonderful. The music is gripping. Stars from Les Mis uh, takes the cake, and I could name several songs from that musical. But for me, if I could only pick one, I'd pick Stars.
That's fair. Stars is a great one. Now, I will be honest, most of my experience with Les Mis is from the movie with Hugh Jackman and good old Russell Crowe. Um, and
Yeah,
so there
Russell
is
Crowe
that.
singing that song. He's like pacing on the top of a really tall
Uh-huh.
building, and having already like known and loved that song when I saw the movie, I wish he would just fall off. Um,
I
don't save it for the end. Just jump now. Save us from your tortured attempt at performing this song.
well, another potential problem that they ran into with that movie is they did all of the recording
Mm-hmm.
while they were doing everything else. So you're
On
fighting
stage.
with they're actually doing all the acting with it, all the background stuff, and then go and ADR everything or record it all separately. Like I'm sure they touch it up here and there, but I think like not that Russell Crowe was going to be fantastic. I think kind of the same with Gerard Butler as the Phantom. Like I
Yeah,
enjoyed it. That was my first experience to it. I still don't think it's awful. I still will listen to the movie soundtrack. Um, it's not one that I'm like, oh yeah, I need to listen to the actual Broadway version for me. But I know, especially people who have a better ear for some of that musical stuff and the technical stuff, that probably kills them. But
fun fact: Colm Wilkinson, the original Jean Valjean,
mhm.
also the original Phantom.
Interesting. Did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Good fun
um,
fact.
yeah.
Okay. So my fourth one, I know for a fact that you probably don't even know what it is from Tick Tick Boom, which is the semi-autobiographical um play written by Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent. It's going to be releasing on Netflix, I think in November. That Lin-Manuel Miranda is directing it, starring Andrew Garfield. It's the song "Louder Than Words." It's one of the closing. Well, it is the closing number. Besides one little reprise. Um, After that, and it's just fantastic. Kind of a culmination of the songs that have come before, um, and just some message which are they're going on and they're why do we follow leaders that never lead? Why does it take catastrophe to start a revolution if we're so free? Just some of these words that is written in the 90s would just still seem so prevalent today too and powerful. So that's one that is always it's on my a playlist called musical karaoke, and it's one of the songs on there that I always go to and I always enjoy. I'm excited for you to experience it when the movie comes out, and let me know what you think of it. But that's number 4 on my list.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the movie. You're right. I don't know the song, and I'm not going to be listening to the soundtrack till
Yeah,
till I can
fair.
see it. I'm interested to see how Andrew Garfield does in a musical.
I believe
Um,
he's been in a Broadway, at least plays or two. I don't know if any are specifically musical, but I know he has he has a lot of theater background.
that's
So
great. Yeah,
yeah,
my only disappointment is that they're doing it as a movie and not as a play. You
Yeah.
mentioned this earlier. I'm with you. I prefer seeing a recorded stage version over a cinematized rendition. That's actually where In the Heights. That's one of the places In the Heights kind of lost me.
Yeah.
Was there were a few places where I thought that the movie making got in the way of the story and the musical aspect of it.
I get
So
that.
that's my only like shucks about Tick Tick Boom, but I'm excited to experience it.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of not seeing musicals,
Hmm.
uh, I said I try to um, listen to music or experience this music as I'm either at the play or more frequently watching it on YouTube,
Hmm.
um, or a recorded version. My last song, my fifth song, is one of my few exceptions.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't avoid hearing this song. And once I did, it just stuck. Defying Gravity, Wicked. Um, I only know Defying Gravity and Popular, but Defying Gravity is just one of the most just driving jams ever. It's on my workout playlist. It's something I'll like sing to in the car when nobody else is around,
Hmm.
because that's the only time I can touch Idina Menzel. And
Yeah.
Defying Gravity gets me every time.
So my first kind of introduction to Defying Gravity is of two places because I don't remember for sure if it's in the second one. It was in Glee. I heard in that with Leah Michelle performing it, but she did really good, and I'll be curious to see in the movie if she ends up potentially getting cast as
I was
Elphaba.
gonna
I
say
know.
she even looks like Idina Menzel.
Yeah. Well, Adina Menzel played her mom in Glee. Um, that came in. But she has stuff where apparently she was kind of a bully and a pain to work with. So I don't know if she'll be cast in the musical movie because that Wicked movie is something that I think has just kind of been stuck in development hell for years. I've been hearing for years that they're working on it. It's going to be coming out, but it never has. Supposedly it has a tentative release date of 2022, but they haven't even. I think they actually did release like one casting thing or whatever, but it wasn't a main one, or it's a showrunner or something. But I don't know. We'll see if that ever sees the light of day. But yeah, I haven't seen that one. Defying Gravity is a great one. Oh, the second place that might have been my first introduction is in the show New Girl, when Winston is driving his car, when Schmidt and Cece are in the back, because I think it's one of when they started hooking up and they weren't telling everyone. And he's singing Wicked. I know he sings Popular, and I'm 99% sure he sings Defying Gravity too. Um, but that would be the other one. I don't remember which one came first, if it was Glee or that New Girl episode.
Love
That's
it. Really,
that's one of the greatest New Girl Winston moments to me. It's just so funny. He's just singing Popular in the car, and they're just in the back making faces at each other.
really quick. Since you brought up Glee, I have to
Yeah.
tell this story since our parents likely aren't going to listen to this. Um, I remember senior year of high school, I came home from basketball practice one night, and I come downstairs, and Pops, our dad, was uh, watching TV and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, Legally Blonde was over, so now I'm just watching Glee." So for anybody that's wondering where we get our love of musicals, it's most certainly
Oh,
from our
100%.
father.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned that earlier with the Sound of Music and Mary Poppins.
So
For
100%
me,
him.
oh yeah. But for me, those are ones that I have zero desire in watching after that. I saw it so many times as a kid that I just doesn't do it for me. Also, I think my kind of musical preference and taste isn't necessarily like those are very more traditional and like dated musicals. I think some of them maybe if I went back to I'd enjoy. You and I were talking the other night about like Fiddler on the Roof was another one. Like I know we watched it like at least once as kids. I remember If I Were a Rich Man. and Matchmaker.
Matchmaker,
Those are the
matchmaker,
only
make me a
yeah.
match.
Those are the only two things I remember about that movie. I think he's someone's standing on the roof playing the fiddler on the roof. So I don't know
Yeah,
why
I
he
was gonna
said that.
say.
Like, oh yeah, there's someone on the roof fiddling. Like, yeah, in the fucking title. As you
And the
mentioned, it
DVD
is
box
after
and
10
the
o'clock.
opening.
It is after 10 o'clock. And I said I'm old
No,
to go to bed before this.
the only thing I'll say in Mary Poppins' defense, we just rewatched it with our 5-year-old, and it is pretty good. Julie Andrews is one of the greatest. She's insanely talented. Credit where credit's due.
Yeah. Okay. So my last one, I'm still going back and forth between two songs. It is from the last 5 years. It is sung by Jeremy Jordan, regardless of which one I choose. I think the one, because it's the more honest one that's more on my playlist, is If I Didn't Believe in You, which realistically is the majority of the song is him just gaslighting her that, hey, if I didn't believe in you, I wouldn't have loved you at all these things. She doesn't want to go to this thing with him. It is a very gaslighting song, but I mean, there's more
Thank you.
of the
Next.
character. There is more of a character arc to it throughout the movie. I think one thing that the last 5 years loses a lot of people who are not familiar with it is because both Jeremy Jordan and Anna Kendrick are great. Just in general, they're talented actors and have great voices. But it is told with like kind of interweaving narrative arc where when she's singing, it's like the end of the relationship to the beginning. When it's the beginning to the end. And alternates song that she's primarily singing, then he is, then her, then him, then her, then him. And it's not for everyone, but there are multiple songs on there that are on my list. The other one I was going back and forth with, the other one was the Shmuel song, where he is singing a song to her from a story they wrote, Christmas. Yeah, I won't try to do the accents and everything, but just the way he sings it, it's so much fun to sing and perform. And it's another one that's always on my list.
I'll give you the Shmuel song.
Oh, you've heard the Shmuel
overall,
song?
yeah. Overall, not a fan of the next 5 years or the last 5
Did you
years or
finish
whatever
it
it
though?
is.
You said you started it and
I
you
got
thought you
I got
got
a little
lost.
over halfway through. I'm gonna be honest. The like back to forward and forward to back storytelling just struck me as someone who thought something would be clever and then tried it and it wasn't.
It's not for everyone. I enjoy it. I enjoyed the aspect of it. I think
But
it
the
actually
Shmuel song
plays better that way than if it would be on the, I don't know what the fuck what word I'm trying to look for, in the chronological order.
Yeah, I mean, so much of the interest that they're wanting to draw in the musical is from that passing chronology. But if the passing chronology doesn't hit for you, the movie's not going to hit, or the show's not going to hit.
Yeah, exactly. But it's definitely in my top 5 musicals, maybe my top 3 for soundtrack listening to. Is my top 3. It was the last 5 years, Hamilton, and it's close between In the Heights and Dear Evan Hansen. But
so you put the last 5 years over Rent?
Yes, I listened to the last 5 years soundtrack more than I listened to Rent.
I'm questioning your credentials for this podcast.
Hey, it's all subjective. But I'll just go through some of my other honorable mention ones. You Will Be Found from Dear Evan Hansen. That one, it just barely didn't make the cut. Champagne from In the Heights. Goodbye Love from Rent, full version, Shmuel song, as we discussed. The World Will Know from Newsies. 3090 from Tick Tick Boom. That's the opening song to it, and that's another one of my all-time favorites. Defying Gravity was on mine. The Beauty Underneath, which is from the sequel to Phantom of the Opera, Love Never Dies. And then Sunrise from In the Heights, which was on the Broadway one and got cut from the movie. It was a Benny and Nina song right after the blackout. And kind of, that was really the only one that I was disappointed that they cut out from the movie, because it kind of helped tie their whole narrative arc together too, because their final song they sing is When the Sun Goes Down.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sunrise just kind of was more because they'd been at odds some before that, and before the blackout he was more mad at her that Kevin's selling the business and everything. So then they'd been fighting, and then there's the blackout, and then they sing this song together, and kind of has them more falling in love, more in
Another Fiddler of the Roof song that just jarred it from memory. Sunrise, sunset.
Ooh, that's true.
Sunrise.
That's true. I remember that one now too.
I don't know any other words, but that just popped into my head. But yeah, I agree. The movie does kind of leave the Benny and Nina in a weird place that arc doesn't quite connect. Right. I have some honorable mentions, but I just want to plug my favorite musical of all time, Spam-A-Lot. I got like almost concerningly into Monty Python in high school. At one point I had I bought all the seasons of Flying Circus, iTunes.
You did?
I did, yeah. And I don't regret it for an instant. But Spam-A-Lot is the Broadway musical adaptation of Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail. And it's brilliant. The whole thing, if that's your brand of humor, the musical hits at every single turn. I really like plays that play with the whole fourth wall, and just kind of lampoon the whole performative element of theater in general, which Spam-A-Lot does at several places. So there's not one song that made it quite into my top 5, but as a whole, the entire play is honorable mention. I saw it once live at this tiny community playhouse in Lincoln. It was very poorly done, but it was still amazing, which shows you how good the musical is. And then I've watched the original Broadway cast. There's a recording on YouTube. I've watched that half dozen times, and it's amazing.
Ooh, that made me remember. I saw Cabaret at a small local theater playhouse in Lincoln.
I saw parts of Cabaret on Schitt's Creek.
Yep. Yep, that was the other one. So I saw that before I saw it at Schitt's Creek, and then when I saw Schitt's Creek, I'm like, I know what's going on.
It's lovely. I've known about Cabaret when I saw the parts on Schitt's Creek, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to spend the time on this.
Yeah, it's like, it was a classic. I mean, it objectively is a classic, but just, I don't know. It's not one that grabbed me. I should have included a little bit of Alexis in my musical songs. It's her audition song.
Once again, classic. Yeah, and I guess my last honorable mention as a classic is Modern Major Gentleman, old Rodgers and Hammerstein. I was probably 14 and thought it would be cool to learn all the words of that song.
I vaguely remember
most
that.
of them. Yeah.
Isn't it in a Veggie Tales at one point too? I feel like I remember an asparagus singing that song.
There was some vegetable doing something. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
But that's opening a whole portal into our past that maybe we don't want to touch.
That's another musicals introduction.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna hang up right now.
No, I think I don't know. I've always been drawn to musical things in general, and I still am. I'm currently binge watching Smash, which I highly recommend. It's on my Voodoo now that I password share with you, so you can check it out. It's got Leslie Odom Jr. in it. I forget the actor's name, but in the Broadway version of Rent that we watched, he played Roger, and he's in season 1 of it as one of the characters. And got Deborah Messing and some other people in it. Jeremy Jordan's in season 2, but
Shocking. I'm telling you, the
I feel
like Hillary Duff is your celebrity crush beard.
Jeremy Jordan is, if I could have anyone's voice, it would be Jeremy Jordan's. Because you watch some of the videos from like the performances they're talking about, and supposedly his range, he can just hit almost everything and sing in almost any key, supposedly. But I don't know. There have been multiple times where I've gone down the rabbit hole of watching Jeremy Jordan performances. He does a great "It's All Coming Back to Me Now" too.
He did a great job when Hugh Jackman had all those stitches in his nose,
Yeah,
and they were running through the.
and then that whole story. Have you watched that whole clip where he's telling the story where he
Yeah,
was thinking that he was going to be hired at things like so they were getting Hugh Jackman, so he knew he wasn't getting that. He thought he was going to be getting the role potentially that then Zac Efron got, and so it's just so disheartening. And it was interesting hearing from his side, because I remember when The Greatest Showman was coming out, and that whole that clip started going with Hugh Jackman going in singing "From Now On," and they're telling the story of him when he had the stitches. And then you hear Jeremy Jordan say it. He was talking about how he had been sick leading up to it, and he had thought like this was his chance to like prove himself and get cast in it. And he'd been sick, and he was singing. He basically sang all of Hugh Jackman's parts and all the other guy parts because they were there too. And he was singing that. And then he said his voice cracked once. He's like, oh, it's over. But then he knew that this song was coming up, and that's where he's gonna be able to prove himself. And then he was singing it, and he said out of the corner of his eye, he could see Hugh Jackman just standing there at the thing and nodding at him. And he's like, I don't know what you're doing. And then Hugh Jackman just started singing. He's like, oh shit. But he said it was a great moment, which it was. Because I remember that video too, just watching Hugh Jackman go and sing that with everything just gives me chills. Like there's some musical things that just you see some performances and it just gives you, like we were talking the other night about like in the Heights and Carnival de Barrio at the end of that.
yeah,
When he gets the flag and then he's singing that part and they're all dancing, that's another one where just kind of you get like the goosebumps to it. And that's kind of La Vie Boheme is for me a little bit too with that. So yeah.
yeah. Love it. Well,
All right. I was
I
gonna say,
can't
any
wait to see
last
what you do.
thoughts?
No, I just thank you for having me on. I can't
Yeah.
see what you do with this podcast, as I'm sure it will morph into a Jeremy Jordan fan
Yeah, it's gonna be a
podcast.
Jeremy Jordan Stan podcast. It's all it'll
It,
be.
that's it's gonna turn into a YouTube account that's just reaction videos to Jeremy Jordan.
I, so you're good. I saw YouTube. It was because of the Jeremy Jordan video. It was a suggested one. Vocal coach reacts to Jeremy Jordan singing "She Used to Be Mine," and then I started watching more of the vocal coach reacts. She reacted to the first season of High School Musical, the series, and she reacted to other Jeremy Jordan ones. That she reacted to. I forget what it was. She reacted to the first 8 minutes of In the Heights, things like that. So it was part of that rabbit hole. That's how I got there. Yeah. So it'll happen.
Well,
No, I appreciate you coming on, being my first official guest. I have no idea when this will actually release. Still trying to work out some kinks, figure out some things. And I have still not really done any video editing that I need to try to do. And I'm kind of going the cheating, lazy, easy route of recording the video, piecing those together, editing the video that has everything, and then exporting the audio file for that way. Because I think I'm going to try to. Originally, the plan was just going to kind of live on YouTube to start out. But talk to some other people. I'm going to try to. It seems fairly straightforward to export the audio file to, and there's platforms and services that can kind of push that out just to have more options. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you in the
Awesome.
loop. I appreciate you coming on and taking
And
time away from your sleeping children and risking waking them up. So
oh, and if I can plug my own podcast,
yes.
Jabrabi, spelled as it sounds. If you can't spell it, you don't deserve to listen to it. Join our spouses in listening to us as we talk way too confidently about things that we don't really understand.
Is this a real thing?
This is a real
I'm just
thing.
learning about now.
That's absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Jabrabi.
Jabrabi.
Jabrabi. Once again, if you can't spell it, you don't deserve to listen to it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna stop the recording here. All right. I don't know why I wasn't doing an outro or anything like that when we ended the recording. I just said I'm gonna stop the recording, and that did it in the middle of a conversation, pretty much. So sorry about that, but hopefully you enjoyed that. Kind of a throwback. It was a little bit of a longer episode that we usually do for our 5th episode of the month. So give you a little bit of a bonus. Hopefully, like I said, you enjoyed. It wasn't too painful. If you got through to the end, appreciate it. Thank you. Comment below or go to our Instagram and comment. Let us know your thoughts and what kind of your favorite 5 musical songs are right now. And then Brad and I will update this probably sometime here in February, one of our February episodes. We'll go back and look at what are almost 3 years later from when we recorded that, what our favorite top 5 musical songs are currently. And I know mine, I'm not sure if I'll have any repeats from when we recorded that. So stay tuned for that. As always, follow us on Instagram for our most up-to-date updates on what's going on with the podcast, what's coming up. And ultimately, that's going to do it for this week. So thank you all. Hope you're doing great. We made it through the first month of 2024. Have a great February. We'll see you next week. And don't forget to go down once more. Later.